And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Warburg Infusion Entertainment Review. It's time for episode number 41 here after our 9-week hiatus. I'm your host,
Wow.
Thomas, aka Mr. Warburg, the guy that just had stomach surgery. And joining me, as always, is my co host, Patrick, aka Mr. Fusion.
Oh man, it's been a while, dude. I don't know if we can do this. We got to do this right,
I
right?
know, we're going to have to just dive right back in. I mean, you might as well get back up on that horse right away. On deck tonight, we're talking Moon Knight. Our thoughts on that now that the series is in the books. Star Trek's back in a pretty big way, which makes me very happy. Of course, we got to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, plus a smattering of other news. If Netflix is on the ropes, our thoughts on the upcoming Obi-Wan, what we've been up to with entertainment, and what we're looking forward to for our summer movies.
Yep.
So, Fusion, where do you want to start?
First off, I want to say, man, good to have you back.
It's good to be
Very,
back. I've
very
missed
happy that
this.
you're on the mend. Very happy that you're on the mend.
Yeah, finally feeling good. It took a while for everything to bounce back after the surgery.
Yeah.
It ended up having a bag, so if you see me like grab my stomach on the video, the bag feels weird. But hopefully that'll be off soon. It should be 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
That's what they said, at least. I'll find out in June.
Maybe at some point you have a Mandalorian-esque Star Wars type cybernetic enhancement.
It'd be dope.
Be dope, right?
Give me some like artificial like robot intestines. As long as they work, I don't care.
Yeah, but then you might as well have super strength put in as well, right?
Then I can eat whatever I want, which means I can finally have
Yeah.
sweet corn again.
Oh,
I live in
okay.
Iowa. I can't have
Yeah,
sweet corn.
sweet corn, man. Come on.
Bullshit.
Well, I'm glad to have you. I'm glad we're back doing this, man. I'm glad you're feeling better. I know it's a day by day thing, so yeah, I'm very happy to be able to sit down and talk with you. A lot's happened for me, man. Honestly, um, I've been catching up on some old movies and old TV shows. I went back and watched in the last couple of months. I watched a few old movies, but one of them that really stood out for me was watching Nobody again, the Bob Odenkirk movie.
Good
Such
movie.
a good movie. I know people say it's just a suburban John Wick, but Odenkirk is so good in that movie. Still, the tattoo parlor scene's still my favorite thing. You know, where the old guy sees the tattoo and
Hmm.
freaks out and just locks himself into the other room. But great movie there. Went back and read a few old comics. Went back and read the Court of Owls. I bought some trade
So
paperbacks.
good of
Just
a run.
I have all these collections digitally on my I have a private server, a little server with all my digital comic books downloaded in CBR format. But I went to the comic book shop when I was in Houston for a little bit, and I bought some old trade paperbacks, and one of them was Court of Owls, and then the other one was the Extinction Agenda. I'm a '90s X-Men guy. The Extinction Agenda was great, so I bought that. Got to reread that as well, and just gearing up for what's coming up next, man, as well as almost wrapping up the first half of the final season of Better Call Saul, which I really recommend people. Yeah, but man, and then watch went and rewatched Batman a couple times as well in the 2 months we've been away. So
I've
went
been trying to
yeah,
find time with Chris to sit down and watch it because he hasn't seen it yet. But he's super busy, so
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. We
haven't.
should schedule some type of like viewing as a group,
My
man,
other thing
because
I want to watch because it's coming up in the summer movies, a little preview. I want to do a Top Gun movie night
okay, that's fair.
because I mean Maverick's coming out right around the corner.
Mavericks. Yep, yep, yep. I mean, we're hitting that summer blockbuster area, and we're not post COVID. People are saying now post COVID. We're not post COVID, but we're in a much more lightened world in terms of response to COVID. So let's see what the summer block like. Let's see what movies in the summertime in the theaters look like because Doctor Strange has already hit what 500 million domestically, or
Yeah,
is that globally? That's domestic. That's not global, right?
it might be.
I think so. I think
Look
it's
up box
domestic.
office. I should have looked that up. Doctor
Well,
Strange.
now that I think about it, maybe that's global because I think it had, a really good blockbuster weekend would be close to 200 million. So that would be really, really just blowing away to do 500 million in a few days. And I know it's going to be tough numbers because China's blocking MCU movies going forward. So
It had a $213 million 5-day domestic gross.
okay, domestic. So it's at 500 million international. Okay, cool. Well, that's actually really good considering that China's not gonna allow it in their theaters. So
Yeah, and most of the Middle East too.
most of the Middle East, yeah. But man, it's been good to catch up on some old stuff. Getting ready for what's coming up in the pipeline because I think Moon Knight is kicking off the summer of content for us. We had the December of content, and now we have a summer of content, and it's gonna be some good stuff coming up.
Heck yeah, I'm very excited about that.
So I'm very excited, man. Very excited about it. Yeah, so just been catching up on some old comics and stuff, and then going back watching a few old movies like Scott Pilgrim. I watch that at least once a year. Such a good movie, man.
Hmm.
Brandon Ruth is hilarious in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. What
Fact
about you,
that the
man?
fact that he got such a shitty Superman movie
Yeah.
burns me. Because like his Ray Palmer, that dude, he can make anything heartwarming,
Okay,
right?
so
And
have
he
you
got
seen
such a bad movie
Have you seen Zack and Miri make a porno? The Kevin Smith movie.
once.
Okay. You got to go back and rewatch it because one, what's his name? Justin Long is fucking hilarious in that movie. Okay. But he turns out he's like a gay porn star, and they're at a high school reunion with Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks' characters, and Brandon Routh's character went to high school with them, but then he lives in L.A. But he's a gay and he's living with a gay porn star. So like Justin Long's hilarious as the gay porn star, but Brandon Ruth is just hilarious as the really big, really big guy, but he's like very shy about being gay, and it's hilarious. You got to go back and watch it.
I'll have to check it out.
The guy's got great range. So when you go back and watch Superman, you wonder what happened there. What happened? Like
Yeah. Like
yeah,
I know he was pretty young and like and everything, but it just seemed like everything around that movie was built the wrong way.
yeah.
It was built to be a sequel from a movie 20 some years later. Like, and it's a different audience. Like today, you could get away with it because nostalgia is such a big part of the market. It
Sure.
wasn't then, though. Like, we were getting
Not in
new
'06.
shit. Like, we were
Not in
getting X
'06.
Men. We were
Yeah.
getting Blade. Like, there were these
Yeah.
rumors about, hey, is something's going on with like the Marvel properties, right? Because that came out in '06. Like, it wasn't that long before Iron Man.
No, they started film they announced Robert Downey Jr. in '06 at the end of
Yeah,
'06.
like we
Yeah,
knew
like,
that was
yeah,
happening. Like we had
yeah,
Batman Begins, right? Like all this stuff was happening, and then we just got this piece of nostalgia bait when all these other properties were just getting started, and it was a very mismanaged movie in terms of how it was constructed.
yeah. I think the biggest problem with that was Singer was really trying to pull away from the X-Men
Yeah,
stuff, and I think he really thought he could give fan service, and I think we've seen with, like, guys like Favreau and Filoni, and even to a degree, J.J. Abrams on a few properties, some directors have the vision for fan service and some don't, and Singer did not have it.
no,
Did not have it. Like it felt like it felt almost like fan patronizing fan service, if that makes sense. It felt like he was trying to patronize the fans, but of course he wasn't doing it, but I mean like he wasn't intentionally doing it, but it really felt that way because you're like, okay, Superman has a kid, and you start asking all these questions, what if questions, right? And
yeah,
it's just it was a mess. It was a
yeah,
mess.
not great.
Yeah,
So
don't even get me started on the Kryptonian island. That was just like, what are we doing here, dude?
yeah,
Like,
that was
really?
just straight up pulled from the first movie.
Yeah,
Like it was so weird. We're not gonna go
yeah,
down this road anymore. But
yeah.
Brandon Roth got screwed, and I hope
Okay, let's
someday
move
he
on.
gets a Kingdom Come movie.
I agree.
He'd be amazing.
So in your 9 weeks of just hanging out, recovering, I'm sure you've taken in a lot of content here, right? You've been watching.
A lot actually, mostly food shows.
Okay.
It's one of my comfort things when I'm like not feeling super great, which has served me really well these last few weeks because I've started to cook again, and I made burgers last couple nights. Dude, the burger sauce. Oh my god, it was amazing. I'm
So
gonna
do you
make
go
this
down
all the
YouTube?
time.
Do you go down YouTube holes
Oh,
like
all the time. I I
travel
I got a
thirsty guy?
lot into Joshua Weissman.
Okay.
He does like but the But Better series where he'll make like fast food stuff like But Better,
Yeah.
and like do things cheap, which I like because I'm not gonna spend that much money. I now my next up on my plate is Nashville hot chicken tenders.
Oh, Nashville hot
That
chicken.
or a deep fried chicken sandwich. One of the
Okay.
two. The
Okay.
sandwich would probably be easier actually.
I'm a big fan of the show Travel Thirsty on YouTube.
Let's check it out.
It's ASMR. They just basically go to different food places, show you how they make everything, but there's no talking. It's just all cooking. The other one is Mark Wiens. That guy travels all over the world and eats. He looks so happy to do that. So like that's kind of a thing. Like I actually, man, honestly, like if I retire early, my goal is to do a barbecue show, like a traveling food show, eating barbecue from all over the country and trying it all.
That'd be awesome.
That's what I want to do, man.
And I know where you would go in Des Moines.
Okay.
A
I have
place
to
called
remember that.
Smoky D's. They've got
Smokies.
these. It was on Diners, Dive-ins, and Drives, which I've been watching a lot of.
Yeah.
And they've got these. They've got like the biggest smoke room in the state. It's huge. Like where
Okay.
they smoke all their stuff. I'm like, holy
Smoky
fuck.
D's. I'm writing that down because at some point I'm going to be making a drive out there. If I retire early, I'm going barbecue. I'm doing a barbecue tour. I'm
Hell
doing that.
yeah.
I'm renting an RV and I'm going to do the baseball thing, but I'm also going to do the barbecue thing, but put that on YouTube. That's like,
Ooh, dude.
yeah.
Speaking of baseball, AAA, the Iowa Cubs are in Des Moines. You could do a cheap baseball game.
Okay, so I can go get barbecue and a baseball game,
Heck
minor
yeah.
league baseball.
I and
So,
I this Principal Park's actually like a really solid AAA park.
well, most AAA parks are fun because they
Yeah,
they do the
and it's
best
cheap.
at paying you. Yeah, and they're cheap. You can get a ticket for like $20. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go, man. Like I didn't know you were like really you would fall into food
Heck
cooking.
yeah. I'm getting it
That's
really into
cool.
it. Plus, like I'm starting to prep for, getting a house hopefully maybe within a year.
Okay,
So
okay,
that way
okay.
like I want to be able to like do stuff on my own. So I've been, experimenting cooking.
All right, well, good deal, man.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's gonna be a good time. Other stuff,
Sorry, I cut you. I cut you off. Go back to your
well,
comment.
it's a lot of food. But
Yeah.
been getting into Apex. Like I put in about 200 games this last season, which just ended. Got my first win
Okay.
last night in the new season. And all this new content I could watch, I started Person of Interest again. It's such a good show.
Oh
It's one of the
man.
greatest of all time. And speaking of people that are popping in, we got Chris here in chat because we're live over at twitch.tv/Mr. Warburg, where we're going to be streaming these recordings live. So definitely check us out over
Yep.
there. The link is in the description, especially if you're over on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on the audio, the YouTube is just youtube.com/c/Mr. Warburg. I got in early before they changed the guidelines, so I get to have a custom URL when I only have 200 subscribers.
There you go.
So good
What is it?
evening, Chris, and thank you for joining us.
500? It's like
Now
what,
it's like
500 now?
1,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never
So,
mind.
uh, plus, of course, I've been watching Moon Knight. And speaking of Moon Knight, we should probably talk
Yes.
about it.
Let's go into it. Let's do this.
So, Moon Knight, of course, was a 6-episode series. I believe tied for the shortest. Loki
Yep.
was also 6 episodes. WandaVision was 6? Or that's 7.
I think that was 7 episodes. I think so.
Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be 10.
Yes.
I think they cut it to 8, didn't they?
No, WandaVision was 9.
Oh, it was 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier was. I don't know if it ended up being 10, but that was the initial order. And then they ended up cutting that virus plot completely out of it.
That was 6 as well.
Okay. And then Loki was 6.
Yep.
So this was a 6-episode series. And of of those 3 we mentioned that were 6 episodes, this one definitely felt like it was the shortest. And not always in the best ways for me. So Fusion, what were your thoughts on Moon Knight, the newest series from Marvel?
Yeah. I liked the casting of Oscar Isaacs. I thought he was brilliant as Mark Spector, as Stephen Grant, as Moon Knight, as Mr. Knight, all these characters. I thought he was great. Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow, great. My biggest surprise later in the season was May. I think it's Calamwe
Yeah.
that played Layla slash the Scarlet Scarab. I thought she was great. Also, F. Murray Abraham as Khonshu. I thought he was great as Khonshu. Like the voice was just perfect
Or,
for
yeah, it
it,
was
right?
fantastic.
Fantastic. And I don't know who did the voice of Isis. I don't know who she was, but I'd have to go look. But she was hilarious. So there was a lot of potential here. Now, let me state this: it's not a bad show because I have yet to see an MCU show that has been bad. But we're talking about like next level great. Loki to me was next level great because there's so much there, and Hiddleston was just phenomenal. And like the dissecting of the character, the rebirth of him, like moving from bad guy to good guy. Like he's always been teetering back and forth. He's that anti-hero, but you could see him leaning towards being the hero for a change, and for obvious reasons. But and now once again, the best part about this, and it's hilarious that the only person he's ever fallen in love with was himself from a different universe. Like that's fucking hilarious to me. This I thought where it really fell flat was a lot like Hawkeye. This should have been probably 9 to 10 episodes, only because we jump right in to Moon Knight and to Mark Spector because it's Steven that leads the first 2 episodes, right? But then when you see what's happening, it just like this whole world has existed for obviously years. Like this has been happening for years. He's been the Moon Knight. He's been Khonshu's avatar for several years now, and it's just like, okay, so all right, we're not going to tie this into anything else. He's just been kind of doing his own thing. Okay, well, he's been in London, so the London Sanctum
Yeah,
doesn't
or
know
the
anything about
Eternals. A bunch of
the
them were in
Eternals
London.
lived in London. Like it just seems like for a hero that's been around for 2 years, and you bring up a really good point with the Eternals so deep in history, like with the Earth's history, you would think they know something about Moon Knight going on, right? And it just seems like, okay, we're just kind of really putting it way to the side, and we're bringing it back in, which it felt like a little bit of a DC thing to do. That's what it felt like in the DCEU. That's kind of what they did. Like, oh, nothing's existed. Here's Superman, and then in the next movie, it's like, here's Superman, here's Batman, here's Darkseid, here's everything that's existed. Here's Steppenwolf, like here's universes, here's all this history with the Amazonians and like the Green Lanterns. It's like it just all of this history like gets thrown into this big pot really fast, right? Even though we were kind of like, oh, none of it's existed beforehand. But then, of course, Wonder Woman 2 just destroys that. Don't even get me started with the whole mall scene in 1984. That was really dumb. But I really thought this is a really good cast, really great cast. Isaac playing the different roles, he nails it. I really didn't expect it to get really dark in the fifth episode. It like took a really emotional, personal, dark turn with the whole family and the backstory. But with him becoming Moon Knight, it's very small. It's like a sliver of the story, right? Like just a couple of scenes of him and what happens to become the Moon Knight. Um, I really thought there could have been a little bit more, honestly. I liked the show, but I didn't really like say this was great. The finale though was good. The last episode was good. It was fun. It sticks the landing. But I really felt like there wasn't enough substance to this, and it really just to me because there wasn't enough substance, it really felt like it diminished the importance of the character. And obviously, they want to build something with him going forward, whether it be in the TV universe or even have him show up in films or something. What I think happened was I think Moon Knight was gonna be their Daredevil, and then they realized we love Charlie Cox. Let's just put him back into the MCU. And when and Feige started doing that, and said, "Holy shit! Okay, like Moon Knight was going to be our Daredevil, but why can't Daredevil be our Daredevil?" And so I think at this point, it's kind of like I think they kind of just really didn't know how to really dig into the Moon Knight story.
Yeah,
So
it's one
yeah,
of those shows where it's like, it was all right. Doesn't bother me. They're not getting a season two.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
um, to your point about it needing a little room, there was a couple really big story points that were played up as these big things that go nowhere. So
Yeah,
at least an extra 20 minutes in one of the episodes to tie, like, we need a long scene between our two protagonists to deal with the fact that she thinks Mark killed her dad.
yeah.
Like, that goes nowhere. She's just over it.
She's over it, but then when they do the flashback to him killing her dad and the entire
Yeah, and then
um,
Mark tells Steven what really
yeah,
happened, and you find out, oh no, Mark did the right thing. Like, he was
yeah,
trying to be the good guy, and his
yeah.
partner fucked him over, but she sees none of that.
No, but not only that, but like the scene where Khonshu comes to him to give him the power of the Moon Knight to save him, it's such a small little moment because he's laying on the steps of that temple, and everybody's dead at that point. Like we don't see the conflict at all. It's just
It's over.
it's just over. He tells Steven, and you're like, okay, so he's not the bad guy. He's not a bad guy then. Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Like there were several layers of like let's just push right through it.
Yeah, like that's what it kind of felt like. It was like going almost, I don't want to say going through the motions because that's like an insult. It
Yeah,
wasn't bad, but it was just rushed.
yeah,
Like it's Oscar Isaac for fucking sakes. Sit on things for a little bit, right? Like that dude is one of the most captivating people ever to be on screen. I don't think that's I don't think that's wrong. I don't think that's overselling him. Like he's that good.
Well, I mean, think about it. As awful as he looked as Apocalypse, he still was a good character actor for that
Yeah.
role.
Like he
Like,
still went
he,
for it,
yeah, he
you
went
know?
all in on it, and you're like, okay, I get it. Yeah, it sucks, man, because it wasn't bad. It just
It just
wasn't.
was a series of almost of some
Yeah,
realized potential, but you could see what it almost could have been,
yeah.
and it didn't get there.
because Moon Knight is Marvel's equivalent. Technically, he has powers, but he is somewhat the equivalent to Batman
Yeah.
in Marvel. That's how he's perceived in the comic book world. That's how they fans see him as Marvel's Batman. But like
Well,
I said,
speaking
I
of
really
Marvel's Batman, though, they have a character that basically is Batman. God, what is his
yeah.
name? I can't remember, but they just put him in the Avengers, and it's amazing. Plus, Marvel or DC now has a Jurassic Batman. They're making the Jurassic League. That's their summer Justice League event, where it's
Oh,
Justice League as dinosaurs.
are you talking about Nighthawk?
Nighthawk, yeah, he's like been
Okay.
changed. Like as Moon Knight has fleshed out his ethos of he's crazy and the Egyptian god stuff, kind of
Yeah.
becoming more like crazy Deadpool.
Yeah.
Not Deadpool, but crazy Daredevil.
Okay.
Um, the Nighthawks become more of their like antagonist Batman character, and
Okay.
now he's an
And
Avenger.
I didn't honestly. I haven't picked up a comic book in a few months now, so I didn't realize they put him in Avengers. He was in the New Warriors. He led the New Warriors. Actually, no. Was that Nighthawk? No, that's Night Thrasher. I'm sorry, that's Night Thrasher. But yeah, it just ugh. It's yeah, it's. I really felt like this like I wasn't disappointed, but I was left wanting a little more out of this.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah. Like I wasn't like, ooh, it's Wednesday, time to turn it on, right? Like
Exactly.
tomorrow, Young Justice is back, and I'm like, fuck yes.
Well, be honest, we're both gonna do that when it's Obi-Wan's time.
Oh,
We're
oh,
both
fuck yeah.
gonna be, let's
Not even close.
go.
Especially when it's Ahsoka, because that's in production right now.
Oh, so
Hell yeah, I'm excited. But yeah,
but
like
yeah,
Young Justice is an animated 20-minute show that gets me that level of hyped because they fucking go balls to the wall, dude. They fucking just had Lord Zod's son, heat vision to death Green Lantern Tomar Ray while he was trying to save a planet, and it was awesome.
wait, he murders Toma Ray, really?
Yeah, because Tomar Ray's like for the last 3 episodes we've seen him, you like even he doesn't only gets a few lines, but you feel that like, oh yeah, he thinks he failed Krypton. He thinks he
Ooh,
let Krypton die because it was his planet. Like he was the guardian of that
yeah,
sector.
that sector, yeah.
And so when the new god's planet comes under threat, he tries to contain it and he gets stabbed in the back. It's incredible. They have Kilowog doing the Crisis on Infinite Earths pose with his body and everything, the whole 9 yards. They fucking go for it, right? Like they got DB Woodside to voice Phantom Stranger talking to Vandal Savage. The only thing they haven't done is give us Matt Ryan as John Constantine. That's it. It's the DC universe, and I fucking love it. Moon Knight just didn't give me that level of hype,
Uh,
which is what
yeah,
Loki did. Loki got me that hyped.
yeah, yeah. Well,
This just
because
didn't.
we knew what we were building to with Loki, and then when it happened, there was a lot left to be left in that discussion, but we were still excited to see Jonathan Majors when he shows up when the door opens and he's sitting on that desk. You're like, what? Oh, okay, we're gonna do it. We're going all into it, but we're not getting Krang. We're getting a Mortis. It's like, oh shit, like
Yeah,
But I don't even think we got a Mortis now that I look back and think about it. I think we got Nathaniel Richards. That's who I think we got. That's who
yeah,
I think we got.
I could see it.
I don't think we got a Mortis. I don't think we got Krang. I think we got Kang. I thought we got
We just gotta
the-
add a lot of his mind because he's been lonely for thousands of years.
exactly.
And yeah, Nathaniel Richards.
He traveled all the way to the end of space and time itself in this universe. So, yeah, man. I really was hoping for it because Moon Knight is a fun character. He's not a big one, but I really think like there was. I really don't think. I think Feige knew that there are no major long term plans for Moon Knight, so I don't think
And
there was.
Isaac's going to be a busy enough guy. He needs a
Yeah,
character. If you're going to cast him, his character needs to be able to dip in and out.
yeah,
He needs to be like a Wong kind of character where he's going to pop up in and out
yeah.
of things because he would be great as like. There was an episode I believe it was it Spectacular Spider-Man where him and Moon Knight fight,
Yeah.
and it's hilarious. Like it's played for slapstick because of course it is, and it was really good. He needs stuff like that where he's going to pop into other people's stories, basically. Also, because logistically, he's not going to have time to anchor a whole movie
Or a series,
or a series,
especially
right?
like
Like, it just doesn't, that doesn't seem to be in the cards for him. But it
so you
was
think
perfect casting.
so maybe like what they well obviously let's be frank about this. We know why they're creating a bunch of these characters that may not show up in a lot of the other properties right away. They're prepping us for Secret War. That's what
Yeah,
these guys are
it feels
gonna
like
all
it. Yeah.
these folks, like, if Miss Marvel does well or not, if She-Hulk does well or not, you know that all of these folks are going to be in Secret War because they can't get, maybe they do, but do you really think they're going to get, Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr. again to do this, Chris Evans to come out of MCU retirement, all these folks for Secret War?
You might
Maybe,
get
maybe not.
Hemsworth. He seems to fucking
Hemsworth,
love playing Thor.
he just loves playing Thor, so possibly Hemsworth, he's doing a lot for him. So, but I mean, and it's possible they might, but Secret. I am a little worried
You
about
think they're
Secret
gonna
War.
do straight up Secret War? Like they are doing that as a project, or you think they'll do something like Battle World?
Well, with Battle World, that was the importance of that was the X-Men in that one. So I
Yeah,
don't know
but
if
as a way to
really.
get other characters in that
Oh, it's
aren't in their
possible.
universe.
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, we saw it with Multiverse of Madness, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But like they stuck the landing on those type of introductions. So yeah, I can see it happening. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, Secret Wars. The other thing is we have about four characters sitting in storage right now that we could dust off from the from the Netflix MCU and put those guys into the Secret War. We could
yeah,
put Cage, we could put Jessica Jones, we could put Iron Fist in Secret War. And we can even put we could put Daisy Johnson in Secret War. Like they're like they have the opportunity to bring back some of the other characters as well because Secret War is all about a lot of Marvel characters that are like, who are they? Are they double agent? Are they not? Are they scroll or not? So yeah. But I'm a little worried about that one. But when I think about, like, we're probably going to see Oscar Isaac again, and we may not even see him. We may see Moon Knight, and he's just voicing the character.
true.
Like that's probably what we'll get from him in Secret War. But yeah, man, I really felt like there was something missing from this show.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
that's good enough. So a little bit of a button before we get back to more MCU goodness. We'll stick with TV for a little bit. And it's another show that's back for recording time. It'll be back tomorrow for us.
Yeah.
And that is Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds.
It's out, of course, on Paramount Plus, where all the new Star Trek stuff is streaming. And holy shit, Star Trek is back, people. It feels like classic, that Roddenberry era, not serialized, episodic sci-fi meets like modern day visuals, but also a little more modern day storytelling, like getting into more emotional things and carrying some narrative through lines between episodes, even though the conflict each week is different, which is really cool. Which is closer to, I would say, something kind of like Farscape,
Okay.
which was every episode was different. They had some two-parters and stuff, but all the narrative through lines, the characters, all their stories continued. It was just what was happening around them that changed all the time. And it feels like the Star Trek version of that type of story structure, which I love. I really vibe with that. And Anson Mount as Captain Pike, 10 out of 10, right? Like, perfect casting as him. Their Spock, for like an early Spock pre-Kirk, also fantastic. And they nailed those two. The rest are just icing on the cake. And they're really cool. Like, they have a character I haven't gotten to know much about, but apparently it's the descendant of Khan, is the security officer.
Okay.
And she was stuck on a Gorn prison planet and escaped as a child.
Okay, so because I haven't watched this show, I really want to. I need to finish up Picard season 2. Like I need to finish that
I
because I
enjoyed
was
that.
told it was great, really good. But I've been told by a lot of people that you got to go watch this show. Like it is the Pike show that Star Trek fans have been clamoring for a long time. Okay, um, so you're telling me that she is a descendant of Khan Noonan Singh, but we technically will later get Khan in this universe, or is this a
Correct.
different?
This is
Or is
the
this a?
prime timeline.
This is the prime. So this show is in the prime timeline.
Yeah.
Okay, this
Up
isn't the
Discovery
Abrams
up to
version.
the end of season 2 is prime timeline.
Okay,
Then they jump into the 31st century.
so Wrath of Khan comes years later, obviously, a
Correct.
few years later.
Now, of
Like
course,
actually,
Khan was on Earth for a very long time,
yep.
and I'm sure the story structure is that he had a lot of bastard offspring or whatever, and then they
Okay.
got sent on the colony on the seed ships, that were in
Mhm.
cryo because they didn't want any superhumans on the planet.
Okay.
I'm sure it's
Yeah,
something like that.
that's fair. Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of a little confused there, like if it was under the main timeline or not. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, well, I definitely got to get into this show, man. I want to
It's
get
really
into it,
good.
man.
The captain's fantastic, and of course, only plot point you need to know going in. Though the episode does a really good, uh, job telling you what happened. In Discovery season 2 is when we meet Spock, this captain, and their first officer, who in the original pilot of Star Trek the show, she never had a name, so they finally give her a name. Her name is
Okay.
Una, one, because she was number one,
Mhm.
which is a nice little nod to that history. Uh, in Discovery, Pike finds out how he's going to die, which is exactly how it is in the original series. Basically, it's a warp core malfunction in an experimental test, and he saves everyone, but he doesn't really die, but his body is destroyed, his mind is almost gone, like he's just a rotting husk, basically, in a
Yeah.
metal machine. And he knows when it's going to happen. And it's that conflict of, do I get back and, get back up on that horse, or do I not? Because I know what's going to happen. Which is a fun sci-fi concept. I really
Yeah.
like that. Yes,
Mm.
Chris, in the chat, the eugenics wars. Picard season 2 hints at it. Strange New Worlds is giving us a character directly related to it. If we don't get a eugenics wars like miniseries or something, I'm gonna be mad. Because that's a really fascinating, unexplored time in the Star Trek lore.
Yeah.
Like, we've heard about the eugenics wars from Khan and Space Seed, and Deep Space Nine referenced it a few times, right? Like, it's popped up in all these different things, and we've never seen it.
It was like the Clone Wars was for like
Yeah,
20
that and the
years.
Romulan War, the Enterprise was gonna give us.
Yeah.
Enterprise was gonna give us the Romulan War, and it was gonna be dope as fuck. And then they canceled it.
Yeah. Chris, I haven't watched any of season 2 of Picard. I need to. That's on my list.
I
Yeah.
quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Another one of those wasn't perfect. Like, don't go in expecting 10 out of 10. It's not the Watchmen here, right?
No.
But it's good. I enjoyed it.
I do want to give you some credit here because when we'll talk about Netflix here a little later, but um, you and I, even before this show for years, for a very long time now, we've kind of been predicting the timeline, so to speak, of the streaming wars here in terms of content, right? You and I have really bounced back and forth like our thoughts, and a lot of it has a whole lot of it's come true. A lot of it, even this Netflix stuff, I predicted that. But I want to give you credit because years back when we talked about Paramount doing their own network, the one thing you said was they have a lot of old as fuck content. That's what you said. You're
Dude,
like they have a lot of
Paramount
old,
was the
you,
shit.
yeah, yeah. They have like a lot of 60s, 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s content that and you said this. If they want to take this, you said this, if they want to take it next level, they need to make some really good Star Trek content. That needs to be their flagship. You said that. You said that.
Yeah.
And I think they realized after that first season of Picard, they're like, holy shit, people still want Star Trek. Like people still want great Star Trek. And they're like, let's give them this story, let's give them this expanded story because they see what happens with Star Wars, all these different stories and different points in history of of Star Wars' lore. Let's do it here, with
Yeah.
Strange New Worlds. So it's just yeah, it's I because you predicted it, man. You said well predicted you called it. You said they really need to dig in with Star Trek. And
Yeah.
they've done it. They've done it, obviously, because I see a lot of people talking about Strange New Worlds and said this is fun. This is awesome.
And to circle back before we get to the Netflix part, is the fact that they've nailed Star Trek. They own
Yep.
Nickelodeon too.
Yep.
So, like, that group owns Nickelodeon. And this is part of what's going to kill Netflix. Those long-term license deals for Star Trek are going to run out,
Yep.
and they're not getting them back.
Nope.
Amazon might, because you can buy direct. You can buy the seasons on them. Amazon might be the only player that gets those people that have their own services. Like Paramount has Star Trek, right? Like, like they have all the CBS shows, right? No, what Netflix isn't going to get them anymore, right? Like, but Amazon might be able to because they have the marketplace for it, and that might be the only way.
Well, the other thing is they also get a cut of these network subscriptions through Amazon Prime.
Exactly.
They get a cut of that, like
Yeah.
Seven Stars, HBO Max, all these networks. it's a fraction, but it's still
It's
to
still
us
money
it's still hundreds of millions of dollars over the life of
of the
the
deal.
IP.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I mean, for Amazon, they're cool with it. Like, okay, Paramount's going to do their own thing, but people that don't want to have to manage all of these applications, they want to do it. We'll have them here for us. Basically, Amazon's becoming online cable. That's what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
They're
Because when
becoming
Hulu
like,
disappears, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be Amazon that's that player in the game.
yep,
And their player is
yep.
actually better than Hulu's.
Their
The bit
UI is
rate's way
much
better.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, their code, everything is much better than Hulu. So yeah,
Yeah. It's just they don't
and
have live TV. If Amazon gets live TV,
but Paramount has a lot to learn because I think I bitched
yeah,
about this
their
online.
player is doo doo.
Their players do, their codes do because like I was trying to watch the first few episodes of Halo, and why am I jumping in and out of standard definition all the time?
They
Like,
have the
why
same
is
problem
that?
as HBO Max, and I don't understand, especially HBO Max. All that goddamn money,
Yeah,
that's what you're giving us? Like, Paramount, I get because they've never done streaming before. Like, this is the first go round for them. And it's only
yeah,
been so long, right? You know, it hasn't really been in the life of streaming, theirs is pretty short, especially at good quality, like putting out good original stuff. They haven't
yeah.
been doing it that long. Because Discovery didn't start on Paramount Plus, did it? Or was that the launch?
That was the launch. Yeah, they were at launch, so it's been like 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, but like other than that, they didn't have a whole lot of new stuff coming out.
No,
And Discovery, I don't think was built to be a streaming show. I think it was initially supposed to be on. Was it going to be on CBS proper?
no, it was on CBS Plus. Remember,
Yeah, yeah.
they
It
were
wasn't
really
even Paramount Plus yet. It was just CBS
no.
Plus.
It wasn't Paramount at all. It was CBS Plus. That horrible, and
Yeah,
that was even worse than Paramount. Like
yeah.
that was just
And that was
horrible stuff.
pre like them kind of like remerging into Viacom,
Yep.
you know, and then just like, which was dumb in the first place. Like it's Paramount. Paramount is
Yeah.
like the history of Hollywood. You should have just gone with fucking Paramount in the first place.
Yep.
Stupid. Like
It's a studio with a legacy. What are you doing? You
yeah, it's
know?
like its legacy in old Hollywood is on the level of Warner Bros.
Yep.
Like
And
it
MGM.
was that
Yep.
level.
Yep.
Own that shit. And they're finally getting it to their credit. You know, it's all their stuff is blue with the white, you know. They're getting it.
Chris is correct. It was CBS All Access is
That
what
is
they called it.
correct.
Not Plus. So yeah. And then they had that for what, a year or two, and then they said, okay, we're doing Paramount Plus. We're putting all the MTV stuff in here as well as Comedy Central, and there's a boom,
As
boom,
much
boom. And
Nickelodeon as we can.
we can, you know, and we're gonna do some. We're gonna revive MTV's Real World. We're gonna do a new season of the first show. I think they understood. Like, hey, okay, it's so fucking annoying because we have these really old, crusty executives that just don't get it until it's too late sometimes. And
Yeah.
we're getting that with Netflix now, but we got that with Paramount. I believe we're getting that still with Peacock. Like these guys
Peacock
just
Peacock isn't ad free anywhere. Paramount, I'll give them this. There's no ads. But you pay $10. There's no ads. You know, like that's saying like Peacock, that's not the case. Pay $10, you're still getting ads.
and then Netflix is going in the wrong direction. They're going backwards for that. But
Exactly. And at $10, with Paramount's stable of IP, $10 looking pretty good.
yeah, I mean, you
You
have a
know?
lot of old movies you could go through. You have
Plus, they got that new
old
series, The Godfather, The Offer, for the story of The
stuff.
Godfather, which I want to get into. Like, they got a lot of stuff they can mine, and if they can keep it at $10, especially once they start clawing all their stuff back from their licensing deals,
Yeah,
like, I mean, plus, like Nickelodeon, they got all Avatar, they got all Legend of Korra, like they got some top shelf animated content for like kids stuff that
yeah.
Apple TV doesn't have. Like, they've got a lot there that I really like. And Strange New Worlds, that's some dope shit. And then once that wraps up, Lower Decks is back, which is also some dope Star Trek shit. So,
Haven't watched Lower Decks. Need to
Lower
watch that.
Decks
Yeah.
starts rough. It's more Rick and Morty at the start because I don't think they quite knew how serious they should play the lore, like to build a world. Because it
Okay.
started as just poke fun at Star Trek,
Yeah.
but it was good. It was still funny. It was just over the top and very loud kind of comedy. Then they
Okay.
toned it back a little bit, got more focused on their characters, and started telling actual Star Trek stories with their fuck up crew. And it works really, really well. And is still hilarious especially if you know your Trek lore. They pull some of the deepest fucking cuts ever. Like, they're pulling shit that's from scripts that never made it to air good. Like, they go hard.
Okay, so you haven't really sat down and watched Breaking Bad, but
No,
you
I've
were
been
you
so
were
meaning to.
Okay,
I just never find the time.
you're a YouTube guy. Did you ever see the clip with the two meth heads telling their story about their Star Trek episode where
No.
Badger is bad? There's these two meth heads that hang around with Jesse, Badger and Skinny Pete. And one day they're just methed out in Jesse's house, and Badger starts telling his story like he has a script for a Star Trek episode. You saying Star Wars, Star Trek episode, and it involves a pie eating contest where I believe it's Mr. Sulu and Spock having a pie eating contest, and Scotty is like basically accessing Sulu's stomach and removing the pie out of her, teleporting it out. But then something happens and he accidentally teleports his guts out, and like this whole he tells this whole deep story. But like there's a clip, you need to go watch it because it went viral because people are like, holy shit. And there's actually on YouTube the table read of that episode, and they're reading it like with the entire cast, and they're all dying while the two guys are like reading the script, like just reading this whole conversation, because of how it's like a Patton Oswalt in Parks and Rec type
I
of
have to check
scene
that
where
out.
it's like it's intense. But I'm wondering if that like obviously this didn't ring a bell, so it didn't happen in Lower Decks.
No,
So, but it needs to
it
happen.
could.
Needs to happen to pay homage to Vince Gilligan because Vince Gilligan wrote that whole dialogue, and that just shows you how much of a genius that guy is. Like with television, like he just gets TV. Period. Like all types of TV. Sci-fi, action, drama, all of it. He gets it, and like he wrote this really great dialogue between the two. You should go YouTube it. But
I
yeah,
have to
man,
check it out.
obviously it doesn't ring a bell. So, but yeah, I want to watch Lower Deck, and if they end up putting that in the episode at some point, like kind of an homage to it, sign me up because it's fucking hilarious. So,
I have to check it out. So I think we're gonna put a pin in the Star Trek talk there
yeah, let's do that.
because we got one more big topic to discuss before we wrap up today, and that, of course, is the newest MCU movie, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So how mad was it, Fusion?
Man, like if you have to ask me to give it a letter score, I'm gonna say it's going to be a solid B minus for me if I have to give it a
Okay.
score. Um, it wasn't great. It was good. Your buddy from Star Trek, Anson Mount. He's a busy man now, man. He played Black Bolt in this, which
Well, yeah, I
that was
forgot he did that.
he remember he was Black Bolt in the TV show in
Yeah, he was
2017.
in Inhumans. He was,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I appreciate Sam Raimi really giving him his due because he was a much better Black Bolt in the short amount of time in this movie than he was that entire season of that awful show on ABC. Just awful. Um, we got our John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
Yep, the
I
fan
love
casting
that.
happened
We get our biggest fan casting, and we get Charles Xavier in the '90s wheelchair,
with the
floating wheelchair.
'90s X-Men theme.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. That was like that's just awesome. So
The only
awesome.
other thing that would have rivaled it for me is the Singer movies, the original
Okay.
movies. That theme, John
Oh,
Ottman's theme, Hall of Fame level shit. Like
that
that
was
is
great.
right up there with Superman, Indiana Jones. Perfect.
Star Wars. Yeah, I agree. It's a great theme. Um, I really like this movie mainly because, um, unfortunately, the biggest complaint people have with Marvel is the villains aren't really truly comic book villains. Most of them are doing something that they feel justified is what they're doing is right. Even Thanos snapping his fingers because of overcrowding in the entire universe, right? Allocation of resources, blah 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 blah. But pretty much most really like deep Marvel villains, most of them feel like they're doing something
Well, that's Marvel's.
good.
Like that's their
Well,
whole structure.
yeah, but in the comics,
You
I
look at
think it's a
Magneto.
little
Like he's
well,
one of their more well-known ones, but like
yes, well,
their
because
whole
Magneto's
conceit
so
was they didn't want to be as archetypal as DC. They wanted to be
well,
more real.
we say that, but it's really black and white with the Spider-Man villains, though.
True.
They're bad. They're bad guys. They know they're bad. They're bad. They're like
Yeah,
Batman-esque.
outside of Doc Ock, yeah.
Okay. So
Depends
I
on which
think
Doc
here,
Ock.
I think here though, what they did different was they really blurred the lines of the good guy, the protagonist and antagonist in this movie, and call into question who is really the right person here, and with Wanda and Doctor Strange, like because you, as the movie goes on, you realize Stephen Strange is a very complicated character, and he's done some pretty borderline bad stuff. Okay, Wanda, she's done some bad stuff, but her motivation also calls into question like would I do the same thing as Wanda if I was in her situation? You know, so I get this. They really grade those lines. The only thing I will say, the biggest complaint I have is we didn't get enough multiverse. We got 838, and that was really it. Honestly,
Hmm.
838 was really it. Um, the other big thing, of course, people are pissed off, and I'm a little confused about this. Um, I'm wondering what Sam Raimi's justification was for calling the 19999 the 616 from when they're sitting in that lab, and she says your Earth is 616. My thing is, it's all about perspective. Every
Yeah,
universe you're in, they number things
Arrowverse
differently.
mentions that too. They're like, other than like knowing which Earth is prime, which they know in the universe, everyone else is like, wait, you're Earth one? I thought I was Earth one.
Yeah.
Like they play
So
on that.
it's So yeah, and so it's possible that it's just a numbering thing. Like there's no real science to the numbering of universes, right? So
Yeah,
of the multiverse. So like okay, but I think I so it makes me wonder like was Raimi and Feige kind of taking a shot because obviously that's something that Feige has to approve. That part right there because he's been specifically stating like the 616 is the comics, the 19999 is the film MCU, right? We know this is their Earth is 838 because she tells America Chavez that, but that's a little confusing for me. Outside of that, not enough multiverse. We get really the 838, and that's really it. We don't really get. I was expecting to get a little bit more, maybe even a few more cameos. I was expecting a few more, didn't get them. Okay, but for a movie that was only 2 hours, I thought they did a good job putting it all in for 2 hours. My concern was, this needed to be a 3 hour movie. Then they announced the runtime. My thought was, this is gonna. Remember, we talked about this in
because
a
there is that
previous episode.
initial 245 cut.
Yeah. I was a little worried when we talked about this, last year, maybe even way back before that, when they were in production, that I was a little worried about there's going to be a whole lot to squeeze in here, and something tells me that in that 245 cut, we're probably going to have a few more cameos in there from other fan service that we were kind of looking for, because I really have a feeling like there could have been a little bit more with the multiverse, just a little bit more. Love the casting for America Chavez. I like Benedict Wong's role here as Wong. I thought he was great in this one. Um, I maybe even a cameo from Vision because it makes you wonder what's Vision's next step in the MCU because WandaVision just kind of had it out there like he's just taking off to go figure shit out, and that was really it. Um, yeah, it was better than let me put it like this. It was better than I thought it would be. I was setting myself up to be disappointed and I wasn't, but I felt like there could have been a little bit more with the multiverse.
Yeah,
That's what I could have been a little bit more
I
with the
agree.
multiverse.
There were a few things I was walking away going, oh, Darkhold,
Yeah,
no Ghost Rider.
no Ghost Rider with the Darkhold.
Hmm.
Yep, but then also you have to remember she destroys the Darkhold in every universe. So it's like,
That
for
I'm
according,
not
acco-
sure I like.
yeah, that's because we know that the Darkhold is important in whatever universe technically now Agents of Shield is in because it played a big role for a whole season, right? So it's very important because that Ghost Rider had the Darkhold and took off with it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's one of those movies, much like Moon Knight, where like not bad. I
no,
just almost kind of see what it could have been, and I'm like, damn, it's not that.
but
That
unfortunately,
sucks.
you have the casual moviegoer and the movie critic now are like because everything has to be sensationalized. They're saying, "Oh, it's MCU burnout." I'm not burnt out. I'll be honest with you. I'm not burnt out with the MCU yet. I'm still good, and I have a feeling in a
Well, look
couple
at
of
the box office. Most people clearly are not feeling that.
I have a feeling in 2 months everybody's going to get their juices back because Thor's Love and Thunder is going to blow people away. It's going to be hilarious and it's going to be good. I have a feeling that everyone's going to get right back into the MCU.
Well, it's also just
Or
a different type of character. Like
yeah,
Doctor Strange is not the most likable character.
no, he's not in the comics. He's not the nicest
He's
of
a
guys in the
dick,
comic. Yeah, he's a dick. He's a bit of a sexist in the comics. It's like yeah,
and like he's like basically a dick magical Reed Richards. Like he's the best,
yeah,
but he's an asshole. He's
yeah.
not a drunk like Constantine, thankfully, but and he's also not Welsh, so that he's got that going for him. But and Cumberbatch plays that really well. Like you get that in this movie that man, Strange is not necessarily the best dude. Like he's not Captain America,
Nope.
but this Strange is different than some of the others in that he's not going to cross certain lines. Like he's not going to kill the girl to take her power. you know. Whereas the other were even Wong. That was that was what almost one thing that pissed me off. Wong would not have done that. The Wong we have met up to this point would not have said kill the girl to take her power.
To take her power. Yeah.
The Wong we've been led to know wouldn't have been cool with that. I don't think.
Especially him being the current sorcerer supreme in that universe. It like it maybe that's something that they explore in the if they do a third film. Um, the there's a disconnect between Wong and Strange at that after that because of he is a sorcerer supreme and his first call was to just go ahead and kill a girl, innocent girl,
Yeah.
because you're right in that this particular Stephen Strange he has the flaws like they all do. He has the ego like they all do. He has that whole approach, but there is something a little different with this Strange.
Yeah.
He's the best, and maybe we think of really what the Ancient One said in Endgame, he was supposed to be the best of all of us. Maybe she meant the best of all of us, including all the strangers too. Like maybe that was her thing. Like he is supposed to be the best of all of us in terms of like when you talk about magicians across the multiverse.
Yeah.
And it's possible. It's possible, but that was a little bit of a disturbing point in the movie as well. Now, this idea of calling this a horror movie, I didn't feel any horror in it. It was just a little extra gory for an MCU movie. But to hear that it was a horror movie, oh, we
No.
got zombies, but zombies don't make something a horror movie.
No. I would say there were some unsettling scenes,
Yeah, the
especially
scene
with
where she
Wanda like going through
kills the
Comertage,
Illuminati.
like
Yeah,
yeah, how she takes down the Illuminati, especially the first interactions, Black
yeah,
Bolt and
Mister.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
That's some fucked up shit. I ain't gonna
yep,
lie,
yep,
right? Like and that is Raimi at its best.
yeah.
For me, at two other points, I,
Okay,
I'm curious your take on the first, which I'll get to in a second.
sure.
Circle back to Wanda's arc. How do you feel about half of it being in a show? Because this is the resolution of her arc. She's
Yeah,
fully spoilers. She's fully broke bad,
yep,
and then redeems at the end. Basically, pulls a Doc Ock and sucks in the sun to kill himself. Right.
yeah,
Whereas,
yeah.
and she brings down the rock to kill herself.
Wait, remember,
We
we're
think.
led to believe she killed herself.
So, what do you think about that?
Okay.
The other thing, one of the things I'm not a fan of is in universe there was a reason to bring him back, and they chose not to do it, but they brought the character back in a different way, and that was Mordo.
Okay.
Such a wasted opportunity for a guy who was set up to be the main antagonist in two. We get an alt version of him
Yep.
when the version we know wants to kill magic users.
Okay. I can answer that one particularly because I've been doing some digging the last 2 days. Turns out there is an alternate beginning scene to this movie. In that scene, the their universe's Mordor is hunting down Wanda in the mountains. Was it? I forget the name of the mountains. What is it?
Some with a W. It's like
More
Wonder.
Wundagore Mountain. Wundagore, thank you. Wundagore Mountain. He's chasing her down, and she decides to fight back and basically beheads him with her magic. So we don't know this, but technically the 1999's Mordor is dead. Okay, they decided not to go with that beginning because they felt like they wanted it to be Strange. Like the reveal is bigger if Strange is the one to learn that she's the bad guy this whole time. She's the one chasing down America Chavez through the universe, through the multiverse. So apparently, in that at the beginning of this movie, like right after the dream world and the wedding scene, it's not technically the opening then, but like after the wedding scene, the first shot you see is Mordor chasing down Wanda in this universe, and she murders him. So I think if that they had went with that, I think it would have made things for me from an artistic standpoint, it would have made a lot more sense. From a box office standpoint, what they did was the better call from a box office standpoint for casual moviegoers. But if you're telling this story of Wanda's breaking down like decimation in the comics, the Mordor murder scene makes a lot of sense. And it would make the multiverse Mordor feel a little more important versus what we got from this. Because I agree with you, what we got from Mordor in this movie, like in this theatrical iteration, it really devalued him because he was supposed to play a big role. He took Jonathan Pangborn's powers away, made crippling him again at the end of the first Strange movie, right? So
Hmm.
you know the guy has broke bad. He is bad. He's like my confidence and my faith in what we do is broken based off of learning that the ancient one is taking magic power away from the dark dimension. So I'm like I've been lied to my whole life, of commitment. So I'm going to do whatever I feel is going to do. And so I thought this movie was going to, I thought, honestly, I thought the biggest part of this movie was going to be Mordor, like going after Strange to the multiverse too. But it turns out Wanda was the bad guy. So, yeah, I was a little disappointed in that. But had they gone with that original idea and maybe that'll be, it's not going to be in an extended cut because obviously it doesn't fit. But they may put it in there if it blends well. But it'll be a deleted scene, I'm sure, and it'll make a lot more sense. The fact that we know now Modor is dead, but do they want to put that out there? Because if we do another movie, can we technically have this world's Modor back?
Yeah.
But that's to answer that first one. Now the Wanda question, um, I didn't really have a problem with it, other than the fact that Wanda, if you didn't watch WandaVision, you really didn't understand. And I think that's the problem is that we have to remember that even though if you're a Marvel fan and you're a Disney fan, you're gonna consume all the content. There is a large volume of casual moviegoers that watch these films because they're in the theater or like they're the next big theater release that may not have watched the shows. And
Yeah.
they may be a bit confused about Wanda's like what happened with Wanda, like what happened there. She mentions all the stuff that's happened to her in her life and all that stuff, and then who are the kids? Who are these kids? Like, why is she going after these kids? What doesn't make sense to me?
Yeah. An
So
explainer scene between Strange and Wong, I think, was necessary. Like him telling Wong about Wanda,
yeah,
especially because you see Wong freak out when he realizes she's the Scarlet Witch. You
yeah,
know, which I liked, but I think leading up to that moment with like this is what happened in Westview and explaining to the audience what has gone down.
yeah. Because we do have an unaired scene. Because they did shoot a Strange scene for WandaVision, did they not?
I think it
I
was
could have.
well, it was supposed to be in the pre-COVID. It was in like the pre-COVID stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but I always had a feeling that was supposed to be like the end scene, like the post tag, like Wanda's
Okay.
on her own, doing her own thing, and then Strange shows up.
Okay.
I always felt like that was kind of what they were going for
Sure.
because it didn't seem like he just fit in the structure they were doing,
Yeah.
like as a main part of the story. But I was surprised him and Clint never got brought up, and Clint never got brought up in this one, except for the archer with a mohawk. I was like, dude, he was like her father figure. Maybe he's not dead. Maybe give him the call. You got a
Yeah.
fucking sling ring.
Yeah.
Teleport yourself to Iowa, right? Like get on the farm and go find him. You're like, hey, could you talk Wanda down? That'd be great. Didn't even bring it up.
No. Actually, it would have been more impactful for him to make a cameo in the movie as a different universe's Clint Barton that she murders.
Oh, as still Ronan.
There's still Ronan, whatever, like however you want to say it, but that she kills him. It would have been very impactful to show that she is completely broken. Like we're getting decimation Wanda Maximoff. Like that's what we're getting.
Yeah,
Because we got it with the Illuminati, but she doesn't know who the Illuminati are. Even though what is it? What do they call it? Is it daywalk or dark walking? I can't
dream
forget what they
walking.
called it. Dream walking. Even though she got into her body from that universe from the 838, it's like she may not she doesn't grab all of her memories, and who's to say that the Illuminati knows her, in that universe, whatever. But she just murders those people cold turkey. But I think it would have been more impactful because she did have a close relationship to Clint, that she kills a variant of Clint in a different universe as well, and it would have just shown her and Strange that okay, she is like gone, like Wanda. There's no Wanda left here.
Yeah, I didn't. That's another thing. I didn't think the Illuminati was cool. Don't get me wrong. It was not bad. The Illuminati group would have been like, oh shit, Wanda Maximoff is coming to kill everyone. Run. Like,
Yeah, because they thought
like they would have
yeah.
known. Oh fuck. Especially Charles Xavier would have known. Oh damn. Like shit's about to go down.
Well, and Reed Richards is one of the smartest men on the entire planet. He should know as well. He's all because his supervillain is Doctor Doom, who is all about power, consumption of power and energy, right? So he should be able to track who are, Omni Omega level mutants and powered people, right? So he should know exactly what she's capable of when she shows up.
Yeah, and the fact that they just
Just
didn't even like flinch, like, no, you're the biggest threat, Strange. And it's like,
here's a random thing:
dude,
did they basically say that the Illuminati is stationed in the Baxter Building? Because
in
that's
that
where
universe.
in that universe, yeah, in that universe, what I meant was,
Yes.
but that's the Baxter Building. Okay,
I also liked Strange's throwaway line of, didn't you guys chart off in the 60s? Which makes me think we might still be getting that period piece, at least setting for a little bit in the Fantastic Four movie. Like a
okay.
60s Fantastic Four setting, they go to space, come back, accidentally time traveled, and got powers. That'd be a fun setup
Wow.
for a movie.
So they basically are just like Captain America out of time,
Yeah,
60 years out of time. Okay.
that's one way to get them in the universe and explain that they were always in the universe.
Uh-huh.
Like, we're not pulling them in whole cloth out of nowhere like they're going to have to the X-Men. Like, we thought they died in the 60s. You know? Reed was this super rich dude, scientist, who sent himself to space, and then we thought they all died. Turns out they didn't. Like, maybe he was like Hank Pym's like original mentor or something. It could
Okay.
work.
It could work. It would really make them a very different iteration of the Fantastic Four, which I'm
Yeah,
okay with.
it'd be different. But come
Very,
on, that
very
family
different.
dynamic, Krasinski, if they pull the trigger and just fucking say fuck it, Emily Blunt's the Invisible Woman,
Yeah.
they could sell that. They could sell anything. So they could make it work.
Yeah. I just yeah, I it was fun. It was great fan service. Wasn't a fan of Monica that was Monica Rambeau, right? Is that who that
Yes.
was? Okay, Monica Rambeau as Miss Marvel. I just I don't know. I don't understand. Like I understand. I kind of understand why they did it, but at the same time, I'm like, they could have put somebody else in that
Or
seat.
just called her
That
Binary, because that was another iteration of Captain Marvel.
well, no, binary is the that's Monica Rambeau. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. In WandaVision,
because
that's
she
Monica Rambeau.
no, that's different Rambo. Her
That's
kid.
her daughter. Her daughter. That's her
Yeah,
daughter. Monica. Well, so Monica Rambeau is okay. Yeah,
Binary is the version of Captain Marvel where like her powers change and she can
yeah,
absorb the energy.
you're right. You're right. You're correct. You're correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're correct. That was a very short-lived run for her,
yeah.
and then they moved her. They
But
let
it's a
her
cool
become
name.
Captain
It
Marvel.
works great.
Yeah, yeah. But for binary for space travel was a little weird, so they're like, no, just give her the Marvel name. Let's make her Captain Marvel because people like
That, or
Carol
dude,
Danvers.
if she'd have made her Ironheart or something.
That would have been cool.
Yeah,
Now, see, that's the thing is that people were disappointed because we see these Ultrons working around, and we see nothing related to Tony Stark at all.
yeah,
And that kind of, I think people were expecting that because Iron Man is a big part of the Illuminati, not just
yeah,
like one of the characters. Like the stories center, a lot of the stories of the Illuminati center around Tony Stark. So I don't understand why they didn't go with, and it didn't even have to be Tom Cruise. It could have been someone else
yeah. You didn't.
playing
It
Tony.
didn't have to. It could have been anybody.
Yeah, it could have been anyone playing
Could have
Tony
been.
Stark.
Could
And
have been a version of Pepper Potts. It could have been, whomever. You could have had Cheadle come in as, a different version of Rhodes.
yep,
You know.
yep. I really think that we should have had some iteration of
Plus,
Iron Man.
I needed Deadpool in a prison cell.
God, man, we joked about that, but this was the perfect opportunity to where, like you said, right when Wanda murders him, he says, "See you in Deadpool 3," and like gives a
Yeah,
thumbs
as he's
up and
getting
leaves
like
flag.
destroyed. See you in a couple years.
Yeah,
Like that'd have been so good
yeah,
and such a wasted opportunity. Because
because
Reynolds would have done that.
would have done it, and unfortunately, we hear now that Reynolds is taking a break before filming Deadpool 3.
Oh,
Cumberbatch is taking a break, but like, people are kind of worried about what's happening, so we should have gotten a Deadpool cameo.
it'd have been
You know,
awesome.
we, that would have been fun. Yeah, I think the whole thing with Wanda was if you weren't into the show, and I know a lot of people weren't really into WandaVision, because it was so different. And we've talked about WandaVision being such a different MCU
And it was a
production.
while ago.
Yeah, it was what, 2 years, a year and
Year
a
and a
half,
half.
year and a half ago.
Like if
So I
that if
think
that
people,
had been where Moon Knight was,
yeah,
would have been fine.
yeah,
But yeah, the
yeah,
fact that it was first out of the gate,
yeah.
I think hurt it because it was so long ago. You know?
And it was supposed to be the second production because Falcon and Winter
Yeah, they
Soldier was supposed
swapped.
to be in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, they swapped them, but man, COVID really did like you and I both enjoyed those shows, but when we think back in terms of like the actual MCU itself, those COVID really did a number on things because I think that the stories were going to go a lot deeper, and COVID really affected both of those shows for sure.
I still, to this day, I want to see the graphic novel adaptation of where they were going to go with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
With the
Because
virus,
apparently
yeah,
that virus subplot was like, shit, this was awesome.
yeah,
And it's a testament to pure
editing,
editing
yeah,
genius
yeah,
that it's a competent show still. To cut out your entire basic A plot or a very substantial B plot, and it's just gone of all finished episodes. That's
yeah,
incredible. I want to see
yeah.
it.
Whereas with WandaVision, it was affected on the back end,
Yeah, it was
obviously.
right at the end. They were just about to finish.
Yeah.
Everything shut down.
So, you know, I can say this, like I can understand where the show itself could have harmed this movie, but for someone I have a little bit of a different perspective because I am a longtime fan of the comics, read them
And
for all of my
to
life.
be fair,
I
it
can
clearly didn't hurt the box office.
No, obviously not. But in terms of like Wanda's story, I think I can understand that. But at the same time, let's say WandaVision didn't happen, the show didn't happen, and we jump into a bad Wanda, we would need a much longer runtime to explain why she broke bad. Like we would have to really understand what happened. We get it from watching Endgame. It's because of whatever, because of Vision being murdered and all that stuff. But from Thanos, but we don't know exactly what broke her. And so but at the same time, we wouldn't have had the dark. Like WandaVision brought us back the Darkhold. It brought us, the fact that the Scarlet Witch is in a witchcraft world, which is separate from the
It's a
magic
different
from
magic, yeah.
yeah, it's a different whole layer of magic and stuff. So like there's just a lot of layers for me to really sit here and think about. Or for me, if I really said I'm still pro, like I'm glad we did WandaVision. Now you're right, it was a lot. The gap between these two really affected it, really did, because people can forget a lot of what happened. Because honestly, I haven't went back and watched WandaVision since it first aired. Have you?
Nope.
I haven't. I definitely have not watched Falcon and Winter Soldiers. I watched Loki again, but I haven't watched. I've been meaning to sit down and actually watch WandaVision again because it made me like watching this made me feel like okay, well, I enjoyed WandaVision. Why haven't I gone back and watched it? But yeah, I get what you're saying and what you're asking. I feel for me, I'm still okay with the way things played out. I just think the gap in time really affected the story a little bit. Wanda's story, yeah.
Fair enough.
How about you? What do you feel about that?
I quite enjoyed it. It just felt this was definitely a late stage movie where it's like if you're watching this and you get it, you're a fan.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't feel like it was a movie that's going to expand the audience,
no,
but their audience is practically everybody right now, so they don't have to worry about it, which is fine. Like that really frees you up to do a lot of cool things, which is what they're doing, which I love. I just curious to see how everybody takes it because I haven't really seen many takes that pointed out, but also all those people making the takes have watched it all. You know what I
mm,
mean? I don't know if that's something that people are really thinking of because like my dad's watched a lot of the movies, but he's never watched the shows. You know,
okay.
so I'm not sure he's going to enjoy this movie because he doesn't get it. It won't make sense to him because he's one of those guys that will question, well, why is she doing that?
Yeah.
You know?
And why are these people important? This Illuminati, what's so important about
Yeah,
them? Like, why is like who is he hasn't watched obviously hasn't watched Inhumans. Who's this Black Bolt character? Why
yeah,
is he important? Why is this Mr. Fantastic important? But yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah. Well, something to think about.
yeah,
So, speaking of stuff to think about, coming up this summer, we got a whole bunch of movies.
oh yeah.
Other than Thor, Love and Thunder, which by the
Oh
way,
man,
Jane Foster looks incredible.
I
Natalie
told you she
Portman
was. I told
got
you she was gonna get
fucking
jacked for this.
jacked.
I told you she was gonna get jacked for it, man.
Yeah, like that's gonna be absolutely incredible. Like, cannot fucking wait for that movie. I'm probably gonna rewatch. We're gonna definitely have to do a movie night of Ragnarok. Definitely. Chris will
We know
not be invited. Not
Chris
this
and
Chris who's in
Joey.
the chat. Gamma Caruchador will not be invited
Chris and Joey will not be invited because they would be
because they
part of
don't
the.
like it. They think it's Chris doesn't even think it's a good movie.
He
I'm
thinks
like,
it's stupid.
I'm
He's
like,
said that. This is stupid.
it's like it's too forced comedy. I'm like,
Yeah.
motherfuck, wrong. Anyway, other stuff I'm excited for: Top Gun Maverick.
Okay. Yep.
Actually, I don't even think I know there's a lot of movies that I know of. I'm just blanking on movies. Let's look it up. Summer movies 2022.
Lightyear's coming out.
Oh yeah,
The
that
whole
actually looks good.
It's
I was
fun,
like,
right?
huh?
Chris Evans is voicing Buzz Lightyear, so Firestarter's the next one up. I was never a really big fan of the original
There's new
Firestarter.
Jordan Peele movie.
We get a Bob's Burgers, we get Jurassic Park Dominion,
Yeah, Jurassic Park.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you you're gonna laugh. You don't want to know can you take a guess what movie I'm actually dying to go see? Even though I'm not a huge fan.
Who's in it?
Tom Hanks. I want to go watch the Elvis biopic.
Oh. Oh, you say a biopic. You don't say biopic?
Biopic, whatever.
Okay.
Wait, you say biopic?
Yeah,
I
because
I
biography and picture.
Yeah, that's
Biopic.
fine.
Yeah.
I've heard, well, when I worked on the movies I've worked on, I've heard people call it biopic. In in the industry they call it biopic. So I'm like, whatever, okay. So yeah.
To me, it feels weird
Biopic.
because you say, I mean, yeah,
No, I get what you're saying. It's a bio and it's a picture, so why isn't it a biopic? I mean, that's fair. I just said biopic just because that's what I learned along the way. Because I never even really knew what it was. Then I'm like, well, biopic. Because I would read it as biopic, and then I heard someone in the industry say call it a biopic. I'm like, okay. Actually, I'm joking aside. I want to see the DC League of Pets. That looks like a fun movie.
yes. Keanu Reeves as Batman.
Yes.
Yes.
And the Rock as Crypto
Yeah.
Superdog. I mean, yeah, it looks like it, and Bullet Train looks kind of fun too.
Yeah.
The Brad Pitt movie, Bullet Train, that looks fun. So this isn't like a summer of like superhero blockbusters all the way through, but most of that stuff is going to be like on the streaming side until later in the year after Thor.
Yeah. Plus,
So
holiday season's going to have a lot too.
yeah, because we have Black Adam later this year too, don't we? I think we
Yeah.
have it.
And I think she's, which one? There was another one that
Oh,
moved.
Shazam's moved to next year, early next year.
Aquaman got delayed.
Aquaman got delayed. Before
The
Aquaman was
Flash.
delayed. The
Didn't
Flash may not
Flash move
even
into holiday?
The Flash may not even come out now, right? I mean, at this point, I mean, are they really going to let Ezra Miller be their flagship now? The guy can't stay out of jail. Unless they're going to say, well, fuck it, we might as well put this one out there. We filmed it and, it's in post production already.
It's done.
Yeah, might as well put it out there.
I gotta say
Yeah,
June 2023.
okay. And then Jordan Peele's Nope is the other one, but I'm sure that's supposed to be like they're teasing aliens in that movie. We'll see, unfortunately, I think Jordan Peele is going to end up going the way of M. Night Shyamalan. He can only do his kicks for so long before it gets really
Yeah.
worn out. So yeah.
True enough. On the TV side, of course,
Yep.
not really TV, but shows side,
Yep.
we have the part 1 and 2 of Stranger Things season 4. End of May, Memorial Day weekend, and Independence Day weekend.
Yes, Independence Day weekend.
And then Umbrella Academy sandwiched in between.
Yep.
I'm excited for all of that. What's the next DC show or Marvel show? Is it Miss Marvel?
I think it's Miss Marvel.
That and She-Hulk, I think.
Yeah, I think She-Hulk.
She-Hulk's been done for a while.
Yeah, but they haven't announced. June 8th is Miss Marvel.
Okay.
So
of course, Obi-Wan is already here.
Yeah.
Sorry, just checking Discord. I have a notification and I don't know why.
How many episodes is Obi-Wan? 6?
I don't know.
Because they're not going to let it bump. They're not going to let it overrun Miss Marvel, obviously.
They
Right?
might though. It's different days.
Oh, you're right. It's different days. So June 8th is Miss Marvel, and the 25th, so 2 weeks from now is Obi-Wan. So those are 2 weeks apart. So yeah, they're going to overrun just different days. Was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah.
Star Wars is Thursday. Marvel is Wednesday. So yeah.
Yep. And of course, Star Trek's also Thursday. Star Trek.
Yeah. So you know what? Let me ask you this: a real quick question. Have you shifted over to the weekly release again, or are you still all about?
I still enjoy the weekly. Always did.
Okay.
It just depends on the show. Like some shows are fine as a binge.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoy catching up on shows as a binge. Certain shows, like I love the week to week oh shit moments, right? Like Watchmen was a weekly premium miniseries, right?
Yep.
fucking stellar, right? The Expanse started on old school cable and then came over to streaming.
Yep.
Outside of one season, was all weekly. Damn fine show. But others like The Witcher, I love watching, 2 or 3 episodes in a run and then coming back the next day.
Sure.
Like it just kind of depends on how the show is constructed, on how like what my expectations are.
Sure.
Like of course, like with HBO, you expect the weekly release,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Not all dumped at once. They never do that because they're HBO, and they've earned that. Speaking of HBO, Westworld, they dropped their season 4 trailer. I need to
Yes,
get
they
caught
did.
up on that. I got halfway through season 2 and stopped.
It's a good it's typical HBO dramas. It's a really good show, but it can be a bit of a grind.
Yeah,
You gotta watch it in pieces because it'll wear you down. Yeah. Yeah. Like The Sopranos. You can only watch chunks of episodes of The Sopranos, and then you have to go back. I was like, okay, I gotta take a break. I can't binge the whole season. But yeah, man. For me, I like the week release. But I really like being able to binge out because of my schedule. I can lock out a day in the weekend to knock out a season.
one
Um,
show that did really well for me was they released it in 3 episode batches over 4 weeks.
okay.
It was 12 Monkeys, their final 2 seasons, I think they did that, where they would run a three-part weekend. Hey, we're showing these now. Next weekend, the next 3, then the next 3, and then the last 2.
Okay. That's
I
that's
really liked that release schedule,
okay.
but it just kind of depends, you know.
What's funny is that with Netflix doing the split, I have a feeling that they're gonna start now that they're even moving to the ad model to give that as an option as well. Don't be shocked if they start putting some of their new shows as weekly
And they
releases as
need to hold they want to hold subscribers.
subs. Yes, they're desperately trying to hold hemorrhaging subscribers. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and everybody else's is growing.
yeah, they've lost 75% of their market cap since November. And, we brought this up before we started recording. They actually announced earlier, late last week, that they're moving up the release of the next season of Cobra Kai to September rather than New Year's, which they've been doing New Year's the last couple seasons. So obviously, they're desperately trying to put their flagship shows every month. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of shifts with Netflix, and I think don't be shocked if some of their new shows, maybe not their current popular shows, but some of their new dynamic shows are going to have weekly releases here and there. They're going to test it out.
Wouldn't
I think
shock
they're
me.
going to test it out. Yeah. They may do what they're doing with Stranger Things. You break it up. That way you at least guarantee 2 months of subs. Like,
Yeah.
it's coming out in May. People are gonna be like, fuck it, I'll just leave it in June and July to
Oh,
watch the second
The
half.
Boys
The
season
Boys
3
starts off
coming out in
in what,
June, June
June? Yeah.
25th, I think, in that late June window.
June has a lot of content, man. I mean,
Heck yeah.
I'm glad because we used to talk, and I think we talked about this on the show a long time ago because we talked about TV shows and video games. This whole thing where everything was released in the fall when school starts, when school starts, then all of a sudden television has their fall schedule. A lot of popular games would get released in the fall. I'm like, none of that stuff needs to be released in the summertime when people are free and they have time on their hands, because in the fall we have school, we have sports taking up a lot of chunk of people's time. It's like that stuff gets bogged down with content because of that, because of like other commitments to time. Summertime people are looking for shit to do, honestly. You need to put more content. And I'm glad to see that Disney's smart with this. They're like, hey, here's Obi-Wan. Here's your Star Wars for the summertime. We're gonna give you something in the fall, but here's something in the summertime. Marvel's got a few things in the summertime. So outside of like blockbuster films, I'm talking about TV shows and like games and stuff. And I think I've seen a few games like move towards summer schedules as well. So I'm very happy about that.
Hmm.
Very happy about that.
Anything
But
else you want to touch on before we close it out?
no, man. Just hey, man. If you got in on Netflix and then you got out before it got bad, and just like me, I got out a couple years ago because remember we both predicted this. They weren't going to be able to sustain their model with a lack of IP. They had to license all their IP. This was eventually going to happen, and I think that on top of just a bunch of just like not really taking they've taken their fans for granted. There's a backlash
Yeah.
happening now, and
And they made a
I
lot of
think
originals. It's just their IP doesn't have that, oh shit, it's Star Trek kind of
Well, not only
cachet to
that,
it.
but they have a track record now, which I told you about this, of them canceling a lot of their IPs, their
Yeah.
original IP. After 3 or 4 seasons they cancel, it's like you've set a precedent in the mind of your viewers that, hey, it's a good show, but they're eventually going to cancel it. And that's what they do. The Ranch was another popular show there that they canceled it, at the very back end of
Well,
it.
in fairness, part of that was because of Danny Masterson.
Yeah, Danny Masterson being a total monster. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. Yeah, but I mean, they have a track record of canceling their shows, and we joked before we started recording that I bet they regret canceling that last season of Glow because that was a hugely popular show, and they
With
could have
really
just spent.
popular cast.
Yeah, and it could really it just was another thing that they could have gone to in a March or in April that would have given you another month of subs, right? Yeah, see, you kind of screwed the pooch here, Netflix. So the other thing I'm going to predict now, we're going to have if their market cap keeps dipping the way it does, we're going to have a major player take Netflix, which is going to be the irony because they pushed Blockbuster out of the business, of
Yeah.
entertainment. They're going to get pushed out of the business and get acquired because let's be frank, their code is good, their UI is good for their app.
Their 4K streaming is
Yeah,
fantastic.
there's going to be whether it be Disney, whether it be Paramount or or even HBO, somebody's going to acquire Netflix. Their market cap's still a little too high. It doesn't justify spending the money, but is if they keep hemorrhaging and keep hemorrhaging and keep hemorrhaging, at some point they're going to hit like a $40 million market cap. Somebody's going to have to offer 25 million for that thing, because it's worth it. Just the fact that they spent what $500 million on the new studio last year. Remember that thing that they just opened? They just opened it up like 6 months ago. They've put a lot of money into places they really shouldn't have and didn't focus on where they should have, and it's biting them in the ass because now they're basically asking people to give them more money and stop sharing, which is something they advertised. You can in the past share your subscriptions with
Yeah.
people, and
And their competitors are getting better.
yeah, I mean, if Paramount turns the quarter, look out because they have a legacy of IP on top of the new stuff that they're putting out there. But hey, maybe Paramount says, okay, well, our platform shit, let's spend the billions of dollars to buy
They got the
Netflix,
money.
and Netflix becomes integrated with Paramount Plus, you know, Paramount Plus powered by Netflix, and it's all of a sudden we're off and running, we're off and running with that shit. But man, we talked about this stuff long before we started doing this show, like the streaming wars, what was going to happen, and the end of like cable. But we also talked about way back when at some point Netflix is going to have a problem because they spend a lot of money licensing other studio stuff, and these studios now they want their content back, they want their IPs back,
Yeah.
so it's a dangerous game that Netflix played and it caught up with them. It really did. So that's really it for me, man. Honestly, yeah. Can't wait. We got a lot of good stuff coming in the next couple of months, so I'm very excited about the summer of content for sure.
Yeah. Should be good time.
By the way, you and I, we got to get our group in. We got to jump into Halo and test out these new
I'm
matches that they
game.
have.
Anytime. Maybe for a little charity stream, you think?
Maybe we want to do that. Yeah.
Might have to for a little charity stream. Speaking of, May 21st and 22nd, streaming 24 hours. Not all on my channel. I'm just part of it. Raising money for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America. Got Zelda. We got Echo Chloe. We got Geeky Fried Rice. Gamma Caruchidor. We got a couple guys from at least one guy, but probably more than one from Rooster Teeth Broadcast. Aaron Porter. Maybe. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I don't think she's watching, but she should be in. I think that's everyone. And Rick. It's gonna be a good time. 8.
I like all these names.
Also Rick.
Also Rick.
Sorry, Rick. But yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend. Raise money for charity. All my wood burnings you can see behind me on the desk, and maybe some dope custom dice.
Maybe.
We'll see what happens. So stay tuned for that. You can follow me over at Mr. Wartburg, MrWartburg, on all the platforms. Mr. Fusion is at It's Mr. Fusion. His Mr. is MR as well. It's ITS Mr. Fusion.
Yep.
And he's on Twitter over there. So you can follow us and banter with us on Twitter there as we talk about all the nerdy shit that we just went through.
Yep.
We'll be back probably in 2 to 3 weeks. If we do 3 weeks, we'll definitely be talking about Top Gun Maverick, which I'm looking forward to. Reviews are pretty good. Oh, another movie that's coming out this year I totally forgot about. Mission Impossible 7. Or did that get delayed?
I think it got delayed again.
Fuck!
COVID issues on set. Yes.
Fuck!
Yes.
It's horseshit.
It is horseshit, but yeah.
Can't wait for those movies.
2 weeks, if we're back in 2 or 3 weeks, we will be talking about Obi-Wan for sure as well.
Oh, yes, also talking about Obi-Wan. So we might wait 3 weeks, but we'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
Yep, we'll let you know. So stay tuned, give us a follow, like, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought of the episode on your platform of choice. Wherever you're listening to this, it all helps. All right, let's get out of here. It's been a good episode.
Yep.
See you next time.
Have a good night.